Alright, big bonk, homegirl. Big! Alright, this is gonna fucking mess him up. 30. Not that. This. Oh! Slugger! Clutch. Damn! Here. One shot. Oh. Okay, well, probably should have looked at that. Okay, good hit.
And methodical.
Nothing short of a borderline miracle, but... Try again. There we go. Hell yeah. Yeah! Hey. So Frontline Vestal, affectionately known as Bonk Vestal, is actually decent in my opinion. As you can see from the compilation, she actually does a lot of damage if you play it right, but you have to, if you want to get the most out of it, you have to play a certain way. So I'll kind of break down exactly how to play that. First, you have to understand the path. So what you need to understand is you need to understand these conviction tokens, because essentially what it is you want to have 3 conviction tokens as often as possible, because Mace Bash does 100% damage. So you need to get these as quick as possible. So Wanderer and Confessor, you get these both at the beginning of the turn, which is nice because it's consistent, but it's not nearly quick enough. Mace Bash every 1 in every 3 turns is not nearly enough to make this as good as possible. Talk about Seraph. So Seraph gains conviction tokens when Consecration activates. So when she has either Consecration of Fortitude or Consecration of Light on somebody, every time it is their turn, she gets a token, which is nice. But this locks you into either 1 or 2 consecrations, and you really every turn that you do, as I'll explain, you want to be using to set up to be able to get the Mace Bash as much damage as possible. And this is not the best way to do it, in my opinion. You could probably make it work with Seraph, but the best to me is by far is Chaplain. So Chaplain is when she gains a conviction token every time that she's hit. So in theory, she could actually get 3 per turn. She'd have to get hit, you know, obviously 3 times, but this is the quickest way to do it, and her skills are set up the best to make this as good as possible. So anytime that you are running Frontline Vestal, in my opinion, you're gonna want to run Chaplain, because it just works with the best that you're trying to do. All right, so let's get into her skills. So first, again, we're running Chaplain. It's the best way to do it. Keep in mind, if you are running Frontline Vestal, either the 1 or the 2, you are missing, or you can no longer use Judgment, you can no longer use Divine Grace, you can no longer use Ministrations, which is 3 of her best abilities when she's in the backline. So it's going to be a little bit of kind of a weird change. So the reason I have these 2 highlighted is because these 2 are the most important ones to understand when you're playing Frontline Vestal. So, as I was talking about with Mace Bash is your bread and butter. This is what you're trying to get going as fast as possible, as much as you can. You master it, it does 6 to 8 damage. The main thing is again, you want those 3 consecration tokens because of the 100% damage. So you want those as often as possible, which what Chaplain is the best for. Hand of Light is a good filler turn, I guess, if you want to say that. It's a good setup, I guess, is a better way to put it. So it gives her a strength token, which obviously for the next turn, if you can set up her Mace Bash, that's really nice, and gives her a guard, just so she's not getting beat down too hard. If you do master it, it gives a guard to one of the adjacent allies, but it doesn't do any more damage, doesn't do any more crit. Probably not worth ever mastering, in my opinion. You can either have her in the 2 rank or in the 1 rank. I have her in the 2 rank because this is what I run. You can still use Divine Comfort, so you can have some sort of healing on everybody. It's just a little bit used to it. If you wanted to switch out Divine Comfort for like Illumination, you could. For me, I don't. But these 2 are only usable in the 2 rank. They're not usable if you put her in the 1. So if you put her in the 1, it's a little weird. That's when you would probably run the consecrations. But I think it's so much nicer to have her in the 2. And just at least give her a little bit kind of healing, a tiny bit. I like it a lot better. So Sanctuary is for guarding. So you're going to be guarding really anybody else, and then obviously you're going to be funneling the goal is to funnel as many hits into her as possible so that she can get a big Mace Bash off. So with Mantra, so this says target guarded. It works with any sort of guard. So if you have the Man-at-Arms up here and the Man-at-Arms is guarding somebody in the back, you can actually use Mantra on them. You do not have to use Sanctuary. You should be running Sanctuary. You know, it's good to keep in mind you do not have to run or you don't have to be using Sanctuary, I guess, if you want to be if you want to heal that little 10%. 10% is obviously not a lot, right? So upgraded skill though, the target, so whoever's guarding, heals 15%. If you have 2 consecration tokens, the Vestal gets to heal herself, so it gives her a little bit of self-reliance. 25% is a pretty fat heal too. And then if you have 3 consecration tokens and you just don't, you need a little bit of healing and stress relief and you don't want to use Mace Bash, you can take 1 stress away from the target and take 2 stress away from her. So really what you want to be doing is you want to be, every turn, you want to be doing something to set up her getting hit more. So whether it be Hand of Light so that Mace Bash does more damage, whether it be Sanctuary so that she can guard somebody, you know, Mantra and Divine Comfort you're going to be using occasionally. It just kind of depends on what you need at the time. But this Mace Bash is your bread and butter. Master it at the first end because it does do extra damage. Extra crit is nice. And then I would say master Mantra as quick as you can, just because the difference between Mantra upgraded and Mantra not upgraded is pretty big. And this does gives her a little bit of the kind of like healing and utility that you're used to with the Vestal. More importantly, it's really just to kind of like get people off death's door, because 15% is not a ton, but it is nice to like offset dots or something along those lines. So your bread and your what you need, your holy grail, I guess, if you will, is the Profane Scroll. So the Profane Scroll, what it does is if she's in rank 2, it gives 25% damage. If she's in rank 1, it gives 25% health. And more importantly, the most important part is Hand of Light now becomes a taunt. So when this turns into a little bit, it turns into a much stronger setup ability, because you are now taunting her, which allows her to get hit more, which allows her to get more tokens, which allow her to either use Mace Bash or Mantra. Upgraded Mantra is to the best of its ability. You can also, if you don't want to rely on getting Profane Scroll, because it always feels like that's one of those trinkets that you get when you're not using it, you get when you don't need it. What you can do is you can run something like a Flagellant or something like a Man-at-Arms in the 1 spot and have them taunt and then she guard them. So it's a little bit, it's kind of like a pseudo taunt, because, or it's a pseudo taunt because they're hitting her who's actually being guarded, which gets hit here. So okay, so one thing that you have to remember if you're going to be playing this. Okay, so looking at Mace Bash again, it ignores dodge, guard, and being guarded when there's 2 tokens. Pretty useful. And then again, what you're going for is the 3 tokens where it deals 100% damage. So what you have to remember, which I'm told by the wonderful British Brat, who you should go follow on YouTube and Twitch, that this is intentional. Okay, so notice none of these zombies have a guard, or they're being guarded, or they're dodges. If you look down here where it's the highlighted conviction token, so even though this isn't actually going through anything, it's going to use the 2 tokens. It kind of sucks to play. Again, I'm told that this is intentional. You know, I'm sure there's some balancing reasons behind it. It does make sense. It just does feel bad to play. So, but the issue is just it feels a little inconsistent. So I have the leper in this comp because I want to show you the difference. So first of all, I'm going to hit this zombie. It's not going through anything, but it does use the tokens. Okay, so the 2 tokens are gone. So in that scenario, what you need to do is make sure that you don't accidentally use up those 2 tokens, because you need to wait for that 3rd. So either Hand of Light or Divine Comfort or you know, Sanctuary, whatever. Do whatever. Just make sure you don't actually use that up. And the little bit of weirdness. So with the leper, he ignores a blind when the enemy is comboed. Makes perfect sense. And when you chop somebody who's comboed when he isn't blinded, it doesn't use up the combo token. Makes total sense. And if he was blinded and then now attack this guy, it would use up the token. Makes sense. You're using the combo token only if it's actually used. But with the Vestal, you are using the 2 conviction tokens whether you're actually going through a guard or not. So it's inconsistent. Again, it's, you know, it's intentional. You know, it leaves you in some situations sometimes where it feels kind of bad to play with. But that's when you would use something like Hand of Light to set yourself up for a strength token for that next turn, when hopefully you do have that 3rd, or a good time to use Divine Comfort. Keep in mind, you can't use Mantra on that because it'll use up the 2 tokens also. Yeah, it's the one thing that is holding Frontline Vestal back from being better. But it is intentional. voting. It just feels bad because the leper is how it should be, which is you only use the combo token if you actually use it. But the conviction tokens with Mace Bash is not how it should be, and not how it is with the leper. So it is what it is. Either way, I mean, even with the tiny little bit of handcuffs on her, she still rips them apart and still just does absolute a ton of damage if you're able to set this up right. So if you do want to try this stuff out, it's a nice palate cleanser. Like if you're having, it's been a couple runs and you're just kind of struggling. You're like, you know what? You're a little frustrated. You're like, you know what? Let's just have fun again. And this is a fun way to do it. It's kind of like, this is kind of like you're a fourth grader and you're getting beat up, and that's what backline Vestal is. And then when she gets to fifth grade, it's like over summer, like she becomes jacked. So then now frontline Vestal is like fifth grade. So it's now like she's just angry and she's just bashing the hell out of people. It is a lot of fun. If you try it out, let me know how it goes. You can tell me in the comments. You can stop by the Twitch stream and just say, hey, like, hey, I watched your video and it was fun, or I watched your video and you're shit, and I'll be like, all right, thanks, I guess. Yeah, if you want to see more, I'm gonna continue to make more Darkest Dungeon kind of original content, if you will, for the YouTube. If you subscribe on here, that'd be really nice. If you want to stop by my Twitch stream where I stream every day, I would appreciate it also. Either way, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice rest of the day.